I want to invite you to join us this Shabbat. We'll put up a beautiful tent outside the shul for the very first time because we're having our first in-house scholar in residence at the Palm Beach Synagogue in honor of the celebration of Israel's 73 years of miracles as we returned to Israel in 1948. And we have Rabbi Avi Bomel, who is from Poland, Krakow, and from Israel, going to address us tonight at Shabbat dinner and tomorrow morning as well. Now, this week's Torah portion talks about how to perceive, not just see, but how to perceive things. And it talks about seeing the good versus the bad in others. And it talks about a nega, an affliction that would come to a person for speaking negative speech about others. And it was called saras, which we translate as leprosy, but it's really different than leprosy. The only thing it has in common with leprosy is that it's a malady of skin deformity. However, the word nega, nun gimel ayin, if you rearrange the letters, it could spell oneg, which means pleasure. And the Torah is teaching us that our eyes can be a source of pleasure or a source of pain in our lives. How we see things and perceive things makes all the difference. There's a fascinating study done by a Dr. Victoria Medvik. She wrote a study called When Less is More. And based on the 1992 Olympics and studying the facial reactions and the emotional responses of gold medalists versus silver medalists and bronze medalists, she discovered something quite fascinating, that the gold medalists were the happiest. But you would think that the silver medalists would be second happiest. But she found that the bronze medalists were happier in their emotional response to winning bronze than winning silver. And the question is, why would you be happier about a bronze than a silver? And what she concluded was, after this research, was that everyone wants to be the gold medalist. But when you're the silver medalist, you're thinking, oh, if only I would have gone a little harder or stronger, or if I would have competed a little better, I could have been the gold. As opposed to the bronze medalist, whose thoughts is, wow, I almost didn't make it and win any medal. Thank God at least I won a bronze, I got a medal. You see, in life we could look at what could have been or what is. The silver medalist is looking at what could have been. The bronze medalist is looking at what is. And that's the song of Dayenu at the night of Passover. We look at what is and say, Dayenu, it's enough. Even if we would not have had more, we're grateful for what we have, because sometimes looking at what more we could have or should have had robs us of the enjoyment of the pleasure of what we actually have. When I think about the state of Israel and all the challenges they have and all the sacrifices they make there, I often wonder why study after study shows that Israeli society is a happier society than the American society. Well, we don't have all the struggles they have with terrorism and violence and wars and all the challenges of sending your children to the army. Shouldn't we be happier? And perhaps the answer is that we often look at what we don't have and what we could have or should have, and as opposed to them who are grateful that, thank God, after 1900 years in exile, being expelled from one country to the next, we have a land of Israel. We have our own country. Yes, there are challenges, but we look at what we have versus what we don't have. In conclusion, as we approach the Shabbat and we talk about the eye, notice something fascinating, and that is that there's a white part of the eye and a dark part of the eye. But the part of the eye we see through is not the white part, but the dark part. Often in life, it's through our struggles, through our challenges, that we come to a much greater appreciation and see the many blessings in our lives and focus on the positive rather than on what we don't have. And this is the key to living a long and happy life. See good around you, in others, and in yourself, and avoid the sin of Lashon Hara, negative speech, by seeing the good, accentuating the positive, speaking words of kindness, praise, and compliments to others. Have a wonderful Shabbat.